It's all going to zero against Bitcoin.
It's going up forever, Wally.
You're against Bitcoin, you're against freedom.
Yo, welcome to Simply Bitcoin Live. We're your number one source for the peaceful Bitcoin revolution. We cover breaking news, culture, matic warfare. We will be your guide through the separation of money and state. The SEC delays the Bitcoin spot ETF. Once again, is it really surprising? I don't think so. I was talking about this on Simply Sessions last night on the BTC Sessions channel, which we also stream on the Simply channel as well. At what point do you believe that Gary Gensler's motivations are political? We know what was happening with the so-called Operation Choke Point 2.0, which is according to the people that were reporting on this theory, which is the idea that the U.S. government was trying to isolate the traditional financial system from the Bitcoin and altcoin industry. Now, obviously, you guys know how we feel about that on Simply Bitcoin. We've had Caitlin Long come on the show. She said it, not us, that her bank was denied a federal banking charter, which would make her competitive on a national level, banking-wise. And she said that order came directly from the White House. We also know, based on the numerous reports, whether it's the presidential economic report released by the White House, whether it's a report that was released by the U.S. Treasury, how the Biden administration feels about the Bitcoin and altcoin industry, how they want to push forward a central bank digital currency, how in their eyes, there's a necessity for a central bank. And how they're big fans of a central bank digital currency. And then coincidentally, around the same time that this is happening, the American version of a central bank digital currency was officially launched, called the Fed Now. Now they're saying that it's not a central bank digital currency, but I don't really trust them. So how long are they going to be able to delay this spot Bitcoin ETF? I don't know. But Michael Saylor was tweeting, in celebration about how Grayscale won the lawsuit against the SEC. And I guess that's a step in the right direction. Look, as a Bitcoiner, I'm divided about the ETF for two reasons. I think it's definitely going to be positive for the price, but it also could lead to rehypothecation. This is something that we've covered in depth. I had an episode with Lawrence Lepard and Caitlin Long covering this particular subject. And yeah, look, I had a tweet pinned to the top of my profile for the longest time, and it basically said that if enough people take self-custody, we'll win this thing, and there's nothing they could do about it. So the dangers of a spot Bitcoin ETF is people get very comfortable. They open their Charles Schwab account, they open their Robinhood account, and they're like, look, I bought Bitcoin. That's it. But they're not really benefiting from the value of Bitcoin, the value of self-sovereignty, and that's how things change. So anyways, we're going to cover all the articles. We're going to get into all the details. It's going to be a great show. It is Friday. The weekend is about to start. But before we start the show, I want to welcome our very special guest, a fellow YouTuber, makes some great content, Kinetic Finance. How you doing, buddy?
Thanks, man. Doing super. Excited to get into the deets with ya.
Welcome to the show. And of course, my legendary co-host, always optimistic. Look, he has a giant smile on his face, starting it off strong. Hey, bro. The buttons unbutton more as the week progresses.
Hey, I'm leaning into Casual Friday. I hear normies work Casual Fridays at their jobs.
If we had a Saturday show, and please let us know in the comments. Well, people couldn't see below your waist, so
yes, I'm in boxers right now. No, I'm not.
Opti would be without a shirt on the Saturday, and then the Sunday show. I don't even want to talk about that. But anyways, what are we going to talk about during the culture?
Well, we got a special guest, man. We're going to talk and double down on the idea of being Bitcoin content creators, and get into a rabbit hole story. Everyone loves some of those, but we got a fellow YouTuber out here, so let's double down and maybe spread the signal on why we have dedicated our lives to spreading the Bitcoin signal. Hey, it's still a grind out here, guys. This is why it's Casual Friday. It's still a job, man. It's still a job.
It's like a rare Pokemon. That Bitcoin only YouTubers are very, very, very rare. There's a lot of altcoiners, there's a lot of macro YouTubers, and you know what? Like, I hate bashing on fellow content creators, so I'm not going to bash on any of them. But Bitcoin only maxi content creators, there's not that many of them. So
I macro LARP from time to time. I think you kind of need it a little bit.
All right, guys, we're changing the show. It's just going to be me and Opti today. I'm just kidding. But no, yeah, dude, he if you guys haven't checked out his channel, check it out, Kinetic Finance. He makes some awesome vertical videos, and he has some other content as well. He's released some films, which are pretty cool as well. Anyways, guys, no more delay. Let's jump straight into the show. We have a lot to talk about today. Let's check it out.
The Bitcoin numbers.
Is your Bitcoin in cold storage really secure? Is your seed phrase really secure? Stamp Seed's do-it-yourself kit has everything you need to hammer your seed words into commercial-grade titanium plates instead of just writing them on paper. Don't store your generational wealth on paper. Paper is prone to water damage, fire damage. You want to put your generational wealth on one of the strongest metals on planet Earth, titanium. Your words are actually stamped into this metal plate with this hammer and these letter stamps. And once your words are in, they aren't going anywhere. No risk of the plate breaking apart and pieces falling everywhere. Titanium stamped seeds will survive nearly triple the heat produced by a house fire. They're also crush-proof, waterproof, non-corrosive, and time-proof. All things that paper is not, allowing you to hodl your Bitcoin with peace of mind for the long haul. Stamp your seed on Stamp Seed. All right, guys, I made it easy for you. You can literally scan the QR code on your screen right now. It'll take you directly to the Stamp Seed website. You can use promo code SIMPLY, get 15% off any of their products. And you don't want to put yourself in a position where you have to explain to your grandchildren why you lost your generational wealth because you decided to store it on paper and not one of the strongest metals on planet Earth, titanium. So check out Stamp Seed today. At the time of recording, the Bitcoin price is $25,780. Stop right now. Stop the show. Press pause. Stack some sats. Anyways, sats per dollar, 3,879. Block height, 805,749. Blocks to halving, 34,251. Halving estimate, April 22nd, 2024. Total Lightning Network capacity, 4,680 Bitcoin. Capacity value, 120 million US dollars. Realized monetary inflation, 1.75%. The market capitalization of Bitcoin, $502 billion with a B. Bitcoin versus gold market cap, 3.88%. Anyways, what I want to talk about today is, look, shit's not doing so hot right now. We played you a video the other day of, people on TikTok, several videos of just, and it was, and I've seen other content creators cover this particular subject. And they're covering the struggle, and they're saying like, look, this is really effed up. And for our audio listeners, I'm about to read an article from CNBC. It says 61% of Americans are living paycheck to paycheck. Inflation is still squeezing budgets. Now, you would believe, and Marty Bent covered this so eloquently, or TFTC, Marty Bent's media company, and he's talking about the idea of core inflation. I don't believe the actual inflation rate. The housing prices in the last couple of years alone have doubled. Not to mention energy, not to mention food. I do not believe the official inflation numbers. And of course, the people that are tasked with reporting these numbers also benefit from the traditional financial system. So they're incentivized to kind of mess with the numbers a little bit. Before we went on air, Kinetic Finance was actually talking about something very interesting that the Biden administration was doing. So we'll get to that in a second, but first let's read what TFTC had to say. 61% of Americans are living paycheck to paycheck. CNBC is telling people, quote, relief is on the way because core inflation was only up 0.2% in June and July. Core inflation is currently hovering at 4.65% and is underreported. It doesn't seem like relief is on the way. And mind you, like, just if inflation gets back down to that like 2% magic number that central, excuse my language, magically pulled out of their asses because they can't even answer why 2% inflation. Jerome Powell had no good answer to that. He was like, it's just the common consensus. I guess it's a good idea. 2% theft. Yeah. Okay. I guess. Anyways. It's much more than this. It's much more that's being reported, and better. And to be specific, just if prices don't continue to go up as fast does not mean that they're going to go down to where they were before. And that's the issue here, right? And anyways, I was talking about how a lot of other content creators were just talking about this issue, and they were like, look, this is bad. Like, this is going to be a bad recession. This is going to be whatever. Bitcoin is a solution to this. But before I get to that, look, this is a crazy stat too. People can't afford to live. So what do? They max out their credit cards. US credit card debt reaches all-time high, exceeds $1 trillion. That is the GDP of a lot of countries. I think half the world's GDP is less than 1 trillion. So it's just an inconceivable amount. But again, this only applies. We're solution based on this show. That's why we don't like to get into fiat politics. That's why we don't like to get into the right versus left debates, or Democrat versus Republican, or liberal versus conservative, because that's a divide and conquer, in my opinion. That's a divide and conquer strategy by politicians to get people distracted from what the issue is at hand. And the issue is that as long as there's a bureaucratic elite that are able to print money for free that everyone else has to work for, it steals from the lower and middle classes that don't have the means to save in assets, and everyone else, like the vast majority of people, get poorer. But there's a solution to this. The solution to this is Bitcoin. When you save in Bitcoin, when you earn in Bitcoin, yes, it might be painful on the years after, the parabolic bull run. It might suck. You actually might be hurting. But on a longer time scale, and this is why we always advocate for Bitcoin being savings, life gets cheaper. This is something that I've experienced. This is something that Opti's experienced. Kinetic Finance, he's a Bitcoiner. I'm sure that he's experienced this as well. Under a Bitcoin standard, things get cheaper, whether that's a house, whether that's the cost of living, whether that's food. So Bitcoin is a solution to this. And Bitcoin not only is a solution to this, but Bitcoin is just better money in the first place. And I think as the price of Bitcoin gets higher, and the volatility decreases, it will start to transition from a store of value, which is where it is now, to a medium of exchange. Eventually, those Bitcoiners that have been holding bags for 5, 10, 15, 20 years, eventually they're going to want to spend their Bitcoin on goods and services. Bitcoin is the solution to this problem. Not only by being an immediate solution to people that, want to start saving in Bitcoin, and they'll start to see the benefits over the long term. But it's actually a solution in terms of this. It's just better money. Like, if we replace Bitcoin, I don't think it's ready infrastructure wise, technology wise, but eventually, if we want Bitcoin to become the global reserve currency, and eventually if it does replace the US dollar, I think the world would be a much better place for it. The issue is fiat money. Like, that is the main issue. This is a website that we've referenced many times on Simply Bitcoin. What the F happened in 1971? Literally, a lot of these problems started happening around the same day, and this around that same year. And what was that same year? That year was the year that Richard Nixon took the US dollar off the gold standard. It allowed the US government to print an unlimited amount of money, no check whatsoever, and there was unintended consequences to that. And a lot of the societal degradation that we see today, I fundamentally believe, is due to that single decision that I think was an inevitable decision, because the Romans did the exact same thing. They debased the currency. Look, I don't blame the government. I don't blame the benefactors of the fiat system. I don't blame the Romans for doing that. If you had this power, this godlike power of being able to create money for free that the rest of the rest of everyone has to work for, are you trying to tell me that you would be able to resist that temptation? Or maybe you individually would be able to resist that temptation, but the people around you would be able to resist that temptation? Bitcoin is rules without rulers. It doesn't matter who you are. You have to buy, earn, or mine Bitcoin just like everyone else. And what that does in the long run is that it creates a society of aligned incentives. Anyways, back to this website. Growth and productivity, hourly compensation since 1948. Something happened in 1971. What the F happened in 1971? Compensation barely grew. For audio listeners, it went from 90.84% to 115%, even though productivity, the amount of work, has gone up 246%. Real GDP, real wages, trade policies, it's the same thing. Like this website just points it out. For some reason, it's literally happened around this same date. Something happened, right? Real GDP per capita, median male income around 1971, something happened, right? And it just keeps going and going and going and going and going. This is startling. 1971, cost of living, new house, $25,000. Average income, $10,000. New car, $3,560. So of course, you know, this isn't adjusted for inflation. It'd be a lot more expensive today. But take a look at the average income. The average income was $10,622. New house was $25,000, meaning took you roughly 2 years in wages to buy a house, roughly, give or take. That's definitely not like it is today. So what the F happened in 1971? Richard Nixon took us off the gold standard. The experiment of fiat money began. And I think society began its slow degradation, of which we're reaching the pinnacle of it. Some people theorize that they call it the fourth turning. I truly believe in that theory. I truly believe that we're going through this crazy moment in world and U.S. history. But I think that this time we have a solution. We have a way to opt out of the madness. We have a life raft, so to speak, and that life raft is Bitcoin. So anyways, Opti, I want to get your take, and then we'll move on to Kinetic Finance.
Well, actually, I'd like Kinetic to jump in and tell us that story that we were talking about earlier. I think it'd be fitting to get it in right now.
Yeah. So right now, basically in economics data that comes out of the White House, Biden administration, whatever, they release non-farm payroll numbers, which are basically any payroll that's not like an agricultural job. And essentially, after a month, they'll release, whatever number they have. And then months later, they'll revise those numbers as they get more data. And so in the history of them releasing non-farm payroll numbers, generally what they'll have is, a revision every now and then. For the last 12 months, they have heavily revised the non-payroll numbers or the non-farm payroll numbers almost every single month. And I don't know if I can bring up a tweet here. I can send a link maybe to the chat or something.
Private chat. I'll pull it up.
How do I, where we go? Cool. So Zero Hedge here has a tweet where basically in June of 2023, they originally reported that they had about 209,000 jobs added to the non-farm payrolls. A month later, they revised it downwards to 185,000 jobs. And then 2 months later, it's now 105,000 jobs. And so this is completely unreported, but you're talking about a 100% overestimation of how many jobs or payrolls were created. And this has been happening month over month over month this year. And there's no material reporting on it whatsoever. Not on the mainstream media, not even on like the Wall Street Journal, the finance media, nothing on it. So you're seeing complete manipulation of data, completely swept under the rug. You can't take these unemployment numbers at all at face value. I think they're completely skewed and incorrect. And meanwhile, you have, I don't want to get too political, but like Biden's going around more so than most presidents going around with his own coined phrase of Bidenomics. Bidenomics is a lie. The data proves it. So, yeah.
That's crazy, man. I mean, like, and again, by nature, it gets political, right? When you say that type of statement, like, obviously, people that are fans of Biden and whatever. And what we try to do on Simply Bitcoin is, look, all of this is a symptom of fiat money. It all kind of just boils down to that. So I just don't think that, whether they're skewing the number, and of course they're incentivized to do that. They remain in power. Like, I don't think things will get better until, you see the separation of money and state. Like, I just don't think so. And again, I don't think it's a coincidence that the country that has been able to do that, which is El Salvador, right? They made Bitcoin legal tender. They fixed the base layer of society. I don't think it's a coincidence that the president that was elected is actually doing the things that he was elected to do. And and, happens to be one of the most popular presidents on planet Earth, 90+% approval rating. So anyways, that's my 2 sats on that. Opti, what's your take?
Yeah, and saying everything that we said and not to like go over all that stuff. We say it all the time on the show, man. It's becoming very obvious that the governments, the institutions out there, the central bankers, they market Bitcoin better than any of us could ever market Bitcoin, because humans need to feel that pain. And unfortunately, everyone is starting to feel that pain. And, we woke up a little earlier than everyone else. We understood that there was a problem before other people, and hence why we're Bitcoiners, hence why we've been stacking for however long our Bitcoin journey has been. But we're getting to that point now where the average person is starting to feel that pain. And we're like, the classic meme, frogs in slow boiling water. And right now you're getting to the point where people are like, wait, like the water is getting warm here. Like, what is going on? And again, like, I think most people know that there is a problem. And I like to say most people know like what the problem is. But again, if you ask a normal person what's going on with the money system, what's going on with finance, how the economy works, they still have no idea what's going on. So there is some quote unquote experts out there that know what the problem is. But again, I like even Julian at Kinetic Finance was telling us like, yo, he did a video that's like, I guess coming out, and he was asking people on the streets, adults, and they have no idea what's going on with money. They have no idea what's going on with the economy. And obviously that is by design. But once you start feeling that pain, once you start to see that, hey, what do you always say, Nico? Like, you cannot hide the sticker price in the markets. And it's like, once people start to wake up to the idea of like, wait, why is my $100 not buying me as much as it used to? Like, how come I'm getting less? What, like this shrinkflation meme going on in the world? Like, you're like, wait, my candy bar was bigger. Why am I getting less for my $2 at the store? People start to wake up to this idea. And of course, like, you need to feel that pain. The human psychology it's such a strange thing. And especially when it comes around money, like most people don't really chase pleasure. There's like, there's 2 sides of this. You either chase pleasure or you avoid pain. And not very many people are incentivized by chasing pleasure. They're incentivized by avoiding pain. And so we're in this point right now where people are feeling the pain, or at least starting to, like maybe feel a little bit of pain, and they're starting to wonder what's going on. And even if you ask like your family and friends, man, everyone is kind of waking up to the idea like, holy shit, like there's something wrong right now. And again, this is why us Bitcoin content creators are doing this every single day, is because, look, we understand there's a problem. We understand that most people don't know what the problem is. And so we have dedicated our every waking moment to try to wake people up so that they can help themselves, because obviously we don't want to see our friends and families get hurt. We don't want people to go out there and get wrecked. And we notice that the powers that be have lost control of not only the money supply, but of the information out there. And so we have an opportunity right now to fix this wrongs. As my boy Mike Hobart says, the cacophony of wrongs is being righted right now. And it seems like everything is effed up right now. It seems like everything is upside down. What's wrong is right, and what's right is wrong. And we fundamentally just doubled down on the idea, like, we need good money. Fix the money, fix the world, and everything else will follow. And so we're at that point. And again, I keep thinking of that song that went viral, Oliver Anthony's song. If you say what you want about country music, 3 Chords and the Truth or whatever, but it wouldn't have gone viral if there wasn't some sense and semblance of truth that other people were relating with it. And like, that's where we are right now. Like, that is a zeitgeist of the moment right now, is people are feeling the pain. People are wondering what the hell is going on, and you have the solution. So, go out there, be tactful, be smart, and spread the signal to people, because, hey, I don't know about you, but I don't want everyone else around me to be broke. Like, I want people holding money that it doesn't steal from them. Like, why are we forced to use a money that steals from us? It's a very simple question. And yet most people don't understand what's going on in the world. And you can tell all the numbers are showing that, like, hey, there's something wrong. And instead of doubling down and doing and continuing down the wrong path, All you have to do is save in Bitcoin, take Bitcoin into self-custody, and protect yourself. It's a very simple process. Like, they're not going to protect you guys. Protect yourself by saving in something that is hard, that cannot get debased. And of course, that is Bitcoin, guys. Like, this is why we tell you guys to constantly have these conversations. But of course, don't be unbearable. Make sure that you're not just being obnoxious, because you don't want to turn people away. Like, we want people holding Bitcoin. And so always constantly iterate on how to get people to be a Bitcoiner. Yeah, jump in, bro.
I got something to iterate on, because I deal with this challenge all the time as I've tried to orange pill people, and that's essentially, where do you meet people, basically? Because when you're introducing Bitcoin to someone, it's kind of easy to just say, just buy some, bro, and then learn everything else. And then there's the other side of it, where I think you really have to change as a human being if you want to even a shot at understanding Bitcoin. And I've really kind of like dove into this in my recent video, that essentially the only way you can appreciate or understand Bitcoin, if you're just coming at it, being yourself, whatever that is, maybe you'll get it, maybe you won't. But I think everyone needs to have two major elements to really get Bitcoin. And that is curiosity. You have to become a naturally curious person. If you are slanted towards pushing a specific bias, whether it's left, right, or whatever, and you're not open-minded, you're not going to get Bitcoin. No matter what you buy it at or whatever, your mental block will prevent you from understanding all the things we're talking about in this show. So you have to be naturally curious and open-minded to even get it in the first place. And I say, like, that's almost the first step we need to instill in people before we just tell them to buy Bitcoin is, start being more open-minded to things, look at different sides. And a lot of people have, because of COVID and all this stuff, people are changing their political leanings all the time, a lot more than probably any other time in history. The second part of it too is humility. And Matt Odell says this, like, stack sats and stay humble. But this is something that, a lot of people aren't, readily willing to admit. They're not wanting to be humbled. And I deal with this all the time, because I put out videos on WTF happened in 1971. They're my most popular videos. I do this all the time, where I'll say, like, quick summary, 20 seconds, delinking, the dollar from gold, closing the gold window. These are all of the second order effects. The number one comment I get from people, despite the videos going viral, the number one comment in my comment section is correlation isn't causation. They're just flat out denial. They're just like, you're just bringing up random stats. It has nothing to do with money. You haven't made the link. And sure, it's like a 60-second video. I can't do everything in 60 seconds, but the idea is to at least get people thinking. But there are people right out the gate, and they're popular comments, and they just say correlation isn't causation. Prove it, bro. I'm not even going to dig deeper into this. And I think you have to get.
You should just like comment back, like, have fun staying poor. Go ahead. Sorry.
It's cute when people say that, right? But I just, like, that's not the way, like, I don't believe that everyone has to basically go through some traumatic experience to get Bitcoin. And I understand that's basically how all Bitcoiners have been formed. We woke up, we went down this rabbit hole, our world was shook. Michael Saylor, had to watch his 500 million like start burning away after COVID. And then he finally did the deeper digging. I think that there's a different way to reach out to people. And I'm not sure what it is, but it would be really frustrating if essentially everyone has to come into Bitcoin, the peaceful revolution, from being absolutely shook up, instead of, finding it through some creative learning process, being stealth orange pilled, things like that. I don't know what you guys think, but it's frustrating to me that essentially the waves of Bitcoiners we get, they always come out of like shock and trauma. And it's almost like we don't have enough time to get the proper education. We have to, like, always be just rattling people, grabbing their shirt collars and saying, like, wake up, wake up. I think there's a better way to do it. And I hope there's another way to do it. But yeah, that's just.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. And, I in my opinion, I could be wrong. I wish there was. I just think that, I've been doing this for quite a long time. I think that people they love convenience, and I think Bitcoin is inconvenient. And I think that the dollar or the Canadian dollar or the equivalent, or, currencies that have relatively stable, they're relatively stable. They don't have these crazy inflation rates. People are comfortable. The bread and circuses are strong. The Netflix and chill is strong. The Uber Eats is strong. You could just literally open an app on your phone and get whatever you want delivered to your house, like basically instantaneously. So people are distracted, and I think that people don't start asking questions until something breaks. And I think that's why I'm so bullish on Bitcoin adoption and in the developing world, or how Jeff Booth calls it, the global South, because over there people are adopting Bitcoin not out of speculative reasons or ideological reasons like we are in the developed world, but out of necessity. And I just like, one of the things that Natalie Brunell asked Michael Saylor on one of the Coin Stories podcasts, like, what keeps you up at night? That was the question she asked Michael Saylor. And Michael Saylor responded with, people just don't care about sound money. And I've seen it, whether it's my family and friends, my girlfriend only really started to care once Number Go Up started doing its thing. And then all of a sudden she's a hardcore Bitcoiner, but for the first 3 or 4 years, she didn't give a flying F. Now she's like, oh, this is great. Good idea. Oh, money. Good. Right. But in the first couple of years, you got a lot of shit. Like, you're a maniac. You're just stupid. You're taking a big risk. Right. It's only if you look back in hindsight and, like, wow, I think I made the right decision.
Mm-hmm.
Anyways. All right, everybody, let's move on to the news. We got a lot to talk about. Let's check it out. No, but before we get there, I want to give a shout out to our sponsor, Bitcoin 2024. It's coming up. It's going to be in Nashville, Tennessee, July 25th through the 27th. It's not going to be in Miami. It's going to be in Nashville. You definitely don't want to miss it. One of the music capitals of the U.S. For a GA ticket, it's $349 for an industry pass, or it's $849 for a whale pass. It's $4,749. And I have some good news for you. You can take advantage of the promo code SIMPLY to get 10% off your tickets to the largest Bitcoin conference in the world, Bitcoin 2024. All right, everybody, let's get to the news. We got a lot to talk about. Let's check it out.
The Daily News.
All right, guys, I also want to give a shout out to our other sponsor, Bitcoin Evangelism, planting the seeds for the decentralized revolution. The great Tatum Turnup once said, Bitcoin evangelism is like if the Bitcoin Standard and Bitcoin for Dummies had a baby. Have you ever struggled to answer your skeptical no-coiners friends' objections? Or maybe you answered it perfectly, but they just didn't understand what you said. Bitcoin Evangelism will equip you with an arsenal of simple illustrations to help you articulate the tenets of Bitcoin to anyone. Bitcoin boomer? Check. Aunt Edna, who is worried that Bitcoin is the currency of the Antichrist. Check. Annoying dude from work that rubs it in your face anytime the price of Bitcoin goes down. Check. What about your crypto friends? Bitcoin Evangelism is the most comprehensive Bitcoin-only book for the entire altcoin casino, which will hopefully reverse the effects of the crypto brown pill and help more people see the bright orange future. The author is Brian the Mint from the Orange Pill app. I made it easy for you guys. All you got to do is scan the QR code on your screen and it will take you directly to Amazon to buy yourself a copy of Bitcoin Evangelism. Anyways, what I want to talk about today is a little bit of an update. Well, it's also not surprising. Did you guys see that too on Twitter? Which is like, there's like these Bloomberg analysts started giving a percentage of like how long, what the percentage was of a Bitcoin spot ETF being approved in like 2023. And it was like 75%, 91%. The price of Bitcoin literally pumped it pumped a crazy amount. It went from like 25,800 to like 28,000. When Grayscale won the news, came right back down. And here's this CoinDesk article that kind of covers the details. So it says, SEC delays spot Bitcoin ETF decision for all applicants, including BlackRock, Fidelity, the U.S. Securities Exchange Commission. SEC has delayed until October, making a decision on all the spot Bitcoin exchange traded fund. Applications filed by applicants, including BlackRock, Wisdom Tree, Invesco Galaxy, Wise Origin, Van Erck, Bitwise, Valkyrie Digital Assets earlier this year, according to agency filings on Thursday. Already down sharply on the day, Bitcoin fell further on the news, now off 4.1% over the past 24 hours to 26,100. The SEC began reviewing the latest slate of applications from both crypto-heavy and traditional financial firms like Wise Origin, Fidelity, BlackRock, and Invesco Galaxy last month. The applicants hope to launch the first spot Bitcoin ETF, which advocates have argued would allow for greater retail investment in the Bitcoin space while saving investors from the trouble of setting up a wallet or having to buy Bitcoin directly. Those last two lines are so freaking malicious. Remember what I was talking to you about convenience, okay? The trouble of setting up a wallet. The trouble of having to, God forbid you'd have to buy Bitcoin directly. God forbid you'd have to take self-custody. That is so bad. Like, oh man. But look, it is what it is. For retail investors, I disagree. Like, I think it's so easy to just, literally download the Swan app, go to swan.com, set it and forget it, DCA plan, no, I disagree. I fundamentally disagree, but just the way they framed it, I think is just, it's just crazy to me. Anyways, this article came out from the Wall Street Journal. It's titled "The Fidelity Mafia Behind Big Crypto." The mutual fund powerhouse was a Bitcoin pioneer and built a deep talent pipeline for the industry. So I thought a lot of the things that I read in here was interesting. It is quite a long article. I don't know if I'll have the time to read the entire thing. But anyways, it goes on to say, some of the most predominant players in the digital asset industry cut their teeth at the same place, Fidelity Investments. A storied mutual fund powerhouse, Fidelity is a cornerstone of the traditional financial system that the founders of Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies intend to disrupt. Yet the 77-year-old company became a Bitcoin pioneer in 2014, mining the token, I hate that word, when it was trading around $400. It encouraged employees to experiment with blockchain technology and developed new products that led to the launch of its crypto business unit 4 years later. Along the way, it built a deep talent pipeline for the industry. Fidelity eventually grew wary about expanding too quickly in an unproven field, causing some of the earliest employees to depart. The caution may ultimately prove wise. Regulators have waged a crackdown on the crypto industry after a string of high-profile company failures last year that culminated in the collapse of FTX. The SEC recently sued Binance and Coinbase, two of the largest crypto exchanges, for offering unregistered securities. And again, what I want you guys to focus on is how they commingle crypto versus Bitcoin. I'm seeing Bitcoin coming out of Fidelity, but they're sprinkling in the word token, sprinkling in the word blockchain technology, all of that stuff. So it's just interesting how they commingle the two. And that tells me that we're early, I guess. Anyways, it goes on to say, and despite a rebound in prices in 2023, Bitcoin is hovering around 26,000, well below its highs from 2 years ago. The industry has lost tens of thousands of jobs since the beginning of last year, and skeptics question its future role in finance after the downfall of Sam Bankman-Fried and other leaders who were once considered crypto visionaries. Yeah, crypto visionaries. Anyways, Fidelity's crypto alumni group features venture capitalists, heads of research, and startup founders. They playfully call themselves the Fidelity Mafia, much like the PayPal Mafia, who went on to launch their own technology companies. The group includes Alex Thorne, head of the firm-wide research at crypto financial services Galaxy Digital, Jurek Bolvik, head of mining at Bitcoin miner Foundry, which is absolutely massive. I think they have a huge percentage of the hash rate. Matt Walsh, founding partner at crypto venture firm Castle Island Ventures, and more than a dozen others. Quote, there are a lot of us that have worked on crypto for so long because Fidelity has worked on crypto much longer than any other traditional financial firm. Championed by Chief Executive Abby Johnson, Fidelity's crypto initiative began by trading and storing Bitcoin for big investors such as hedge funds. They say crypto, they say storing Bitcoin. This is interesting. Over the following years, it made crypto more accessible for small investors as well. Companies can include Bitcoin. Over the following years, it made crypto more accessible for small investors as well. Companies can include Bitcoin. So it made Bitcoin more accessible, I guess, but I disagree. The best way is just to take stuff, because it's just interesting. I can't let it go. Like how legacy corporate media just, they commingle the two. And I think that it really hurts us on the regulatory front. It gives our enemies more ammunition. Because they put in SBF in here, right? They put them in. They put in Binance. Binance and FTX were shitcoin casinos. I don't know what this have to do with Bitcoin. Bitcoin's doing fine, regardless of whether they exist or those companies existed or not. Anyways, Fidelity gives the majority of its 43 million customers the option to trade Bitcoin and Ether. Oh, so they do have one shitcoin in there. It wasn't like we were learning about this crazy crypto thing with kid gloves on because we were traditional, said Thorne. We took a huge step into it, and that made Fidelity an early magnet for talent. So there's a lot of things to unpack. What I got to say is I really think that Fidelity started this. I don't think that BlackRock would have jumped in if it wasn't for Fidelity being there first. And then market forces do what market forces do. And then, of course, BlackRock is incentivized to follow suit. We saw a very similar thing, like just to kind of give you guys an example of what I mean by market forces. When PayPal and Robinhood launched the ability for retail to purchase Bitcoin on their platforms, initially they didn't give retail the ability to withdraw from their platforms. But you had the market leader of those specific types of app, which was Cash App, that did have withdrawals enabled. And that eventually forced the hand of PayPal and Robinhood to also enable withdrawals on the platform. So this is what I mean by market forces. And I suspect this move by Fidelity back in 2014, you can even say that Fidelity was part of not like the OGs, but they are still part of the OGs, right? And I think that was a big, motivator on BlackRock getting in the game. What I didn't know until this article was released, and which is why I wanted to read it and share it with you guys, is how much of the talent, like how much of these people that went on to found these massive, crypto and Bitcoin companies came out of Fidelity. That is absolutely crazy to me. Like Foundry is absolutely massive. I think I have to look up the numbers of how much of the hash rate they are, but it's a very, very big company. Anyways, Opti, what's your take on this, bro?
Yeah, so I'm gonna go back a little bit to the spot Bitcoin ETFs because obviously, I don't really care about ETFs. I'm not a fan of paper Bitcoin, as we all know. It's probably going to be a lot of paper Bitcoin, and the fact that the SEC is still basically doing the same like low hanging fruit concerned FUD lines of like, oh, we need more clarity in the market before we can unleash an ETF, I think is very telling. And I saw a tweet from Preston Pish, and I don't have it on hand right now, but Preston Pish was basically saying that the spot Bitcoin ETF won't be approved until basically Binance gets cleaned out, considering so much crazy stuff's happening over there. And and then he asked like a question, which really makes you think of maybe not just GG in particular, but of all institutions at large. It makes you wonder like what Gary Gensler is doing, or even any of these experts are doing. Like, are they really here to protect you, citizen, or are they the lapdogs for the biggest corporations in the world, aka Larry Fink? So it really makes you wonder what the incentives are for not only the people at the SEC, but anyone that's in a bureaucratic position right now. And so there's just that. Like, I don't know. That's just something that's up for debate right now. And the next one, on the Fidelity news, it just goes to show that the financial world, traditional financial world, is shitcoins personified, and hence why a lot of the people coming out of Fidelity, even though Fidelity's kind of, they've been mining Bitcoin for a long time, they've been in the space for a long time, they have to know the difference between Bitcoin and shitcoin. But there's something about when you are a part of the traditional financial system that you just think that seigniorage is an inherent ability of finance. And so that's probably why they embrace shitcoins. And that's probably why we will see the continuation of shitcoin embracement from anyone that comes into the space, and all the new players coming in, all the new capital will have to go through the same like eternal September moment where they like come in like, Bitcoin is so awesome. Wait, what are these shit coins? Oh my God, I can make money on these shit coins. And then they get wrecked and they're like, I love Bitcoin. So we're in this for a long time, Nico.
It's a rite of passage, I would say. Anyway, so I would say I was telling you guys about the percentage of Foundry is currently 30% of the Bitcoin hash rate. So it is a massive, and they came out of Fidelity. So the Fidelity crypto Bitcoin mafia, bro. I thought, man, that's interesting. Anyways, what's your take on this kinetic finance?
I got a controversial opinion, and I'm part of the problem.
There's no such thing.
I'm part of the problem. We keep calling Bitcoin digital gold. We have to stop doing that because they're doing the exact same gold ETF playbook with all this Bitcoin ETF stuff. The whole marketing premise for the gold ETFs was, oh, it's so hard to get bullion and custody and all that. And now you can get these notes and you can just get price exposure. You don't have to hold the thing. And they treat Bitcoin the same way. They don't care that it's money. They don't care about any of the other functions. They just want to give people price exposure. They don't care about any of the qualities that made Bitcoin relevant or like purposeful in the first place, which is that you can be sovereign, you can take self-custody, all of these things. And if we keep feeding into this as, you know, content creators, marketers that like, oh yeah, it's digital gold, just like hodl it, don't spend it, that's going to give just more firepower to the idea that Bitcoin is digital gold and that's all it's good for. Right. And I'm tired of it. I personally, I preach what I preach. When I take sponsorship money now, I only take in Bitcoin. I don't take US dollars anymore unless someone can give me a really damn good reason to not pay me in Bitcoin. And I spend Bitcoin like crazy. In Vancouver, the city that I live in, it's probably the most Bitcoin friendly city in North America. We have a ton of Bitcoiners here. You have 40 stores, you got restaurants, barbershops, tanning salons, Airbnbs that all take Bitcoin in the city. Start treating it more like money. Stop using this whole digital gold moniker, because if you do that, the institutions will have more power. That's what they want us to say. They want us to say it's this thing that you just sit and hold on forever. And I agree with those premises as well. Like, it is a store of value. But if it's only that and it's not money, and we keep saying, oh, the medium of exchange stuff will come later, oh, the unit of account stuff will come later, you know, we can be waiting like 50, 100 years. And by then it can be completely co-opted. So yeah, I'm against Bitcoiners not trying out all the Bitcoin related products. Get a Lightning wallet, start using Nostr, start zapping. Someone in the comments said that, what is sort of like the big utility moment for Bitcoin? When do people start, you know, seeing it like as the killer app of money as it really is? And for me, the most compelling case that I've seen is Zaps. And for creators, it's such a game changer, being able to post something on Nostr and then literally watch Bitcoin stream into one of your Lightning wallets. It's a massive incentive to use social media in the first place. It's a massive incentive to use Bitcoin. And there's just so many ways you can use that as like a market force. But yeah, Bitcoiners, like, I get it. HODL, it's good. It's a good meme. Have your HODL stack, but use the products that people are pouring in tons of capital to develop. Support other creators. Spend your Bitcoin. Replace it if you need to. But really use it as money, and don't just parrot this narrative that you just buy it and hold it forever and do nothing. Doing nothing is a choice. It's not, you know, technically doing nothing. You are, you know, still a Bitcoiner if you don't spend it, but spend it as well. There are so many cool products in the ecosystem. So that's all.
Yeah, 100%. I love that. I love that take. I agree. I agree with you that I love, you know,
Nico,
I love using Bitcoin.
Straight up. When you get sponsorships, are they paying you in fiat? Or are they paying you in Bitcoin?
Well, some pay us in Bitcoin. We prefer to be paid in Bitcoin, but there's just some sponsors that are just, they don't have the capability on their business end to pay us in Bitcoin. So it really depends on the company. Our preference is always Bitcoin,
cool.
But some companies just don't have that capability, unfortunately. And honestly, like, the reason for that, running a fiat business and running this small Bitcoin media business, is that, dude, it's easy to adopt a Bitcoin standard as an individual. It is not easy to adopt a Bitcoin standard as a company due to accounting and volatility. So that's that's been my experience so far. But yes, as an individual, bro, 100%, I would want to get paid in Bitcoin every single time. But if you have, if you have to make, if you have to pay people's salary, and, you have the majority of your treasury in Bitcoin, and God forbid Bitcoin falls 10, 25% that month, you put yourself at risk. Right. So I don't think we're quite there yet. To run a Bitcoin, a business on a Bitcoin standard. I think as an individual, if you have the income coming in, you could definitely migrate to a Bitcoin standard. I've been on a Bitcoin standard for years, but as a business, it's a little bit more difficult. Now, that's not to say that you can't have a huge portion of your treasury on a Bitcoin standard, but unfortunately, just like how it is, right? Like the tax implications, the volatility, from my experience, it's just very, very difficult. And I've talked to other Bitcoiners about this too. Vikingo, we were going back and forth in spaces the other day, and he said the same thing. He was like, look, like, it's just the accounting, the volatility. And then, not to mention, we were setting up, so by the way, guys, shameless plug, but it is our show, so I don't care. We just dropped Simply Bitcoin merch. Scan the QR code on your screen right now. You can get yourself a shirt or a hoodie. It just dropped. They're so fresh and so clean. We pay attention to all the details. It's made by our boys over at Represent. Get yourself a Simply Bitcoin merch. You got to scan the QR code. Anyways, that being said, it was pretty hard to set up a Lightning.
Completely sovereign. Let's be specific here.
Yeah, like if you can use like Voltage and you can use IBEX and like whatever, and they make it super easy for you. But to do it like on a sovereign way, it was very hard. And it's not that we're not going to be able to figure it out. Of course, we're going to be able to figure it out. But you have to compare it. Remember what I was saying about earlier on in the show about convenience, right? You have to compare it to what most people are willing to go through. And the reality is that it is extremely easy with all the platforms to set up a storefront and start accepting fiat money. Okay, it is not very easy and intuitive to set up a Bitcoin storefront the right way and start resetting Bitcoin payments. Now, BTC Pay Server makes it extremely easy, and on-chain is pretty easy. But Lightning is not as easy, right? Now, it doesn't mean that we're not going to get there. Obviously, fiat and the traditional financial system has decades and decades and decades head start on Bitcoin. But that's been my experience as a business owner. That's what I've experienced personally. That's what I've seen. I don't know what your take is on that, Kinetic.
Yeah, I agree. For institutions, it's really hard. Like if you have a multinational company too, the tax laws and the treatments change. Like you have a headquarter in El Salvador where they treat it like legal tender, and then one in America, and you're accepting payments from both. It's a nightmare. But I do think like my point is more targeted at the individual. You know, I think individually as Bitcoiners, we can be doing a lot more to use and support Lightning native and Bitcoin native products and accepting it in our day to day. I get it that, you know, will those things cause a revolution? No, but we are going to fight an info war with these massive institutions that the only thing they care about is basically relabeling this gold 2.0. And that's such a shame to me. Bitcoin is so much more than that. And I just think like as Bitcoiners, if we just keep parroting the same narratives from 2020, they will end up winning. That's what they like. And yeah, I just like, I'm all for, as an individual, just start spending it, support Bitcoin creators. Try Nostr if you haven't, man. Like I was so against Nostr for the longest time because the clients were so awful on my phone and it was like draining battery life and the web clients suck. It gets better and better at such a quick pace. And I'm posting shorts on there, and I'll post a short. I'll go to bed because I wake up too early in the morning. I'll come back and I'll have like 20 donations, 5 sats, 10 sats, 30 sats. And it's not even that difficult anymore to send sats, because before with Nostr, you would click Zap and then it would open up Wallet of Satoshi and you'd click accept and all that. Now they have things, and I get that it's like a little bit custodial, but you can set up an Albi wallet, fill it up with like 10,000, 100,000 sats, and then connect it through something called Nostr Wallet Connect. And then every time you just use a random emoji, like a hang 10 emoji on Nostr, it just pulls automatically the 10 sats from the Albi wallet, sends it over to the receiver. There's no other process involved. So you give a post a like, the user gets 21 sats. That is so cool, guys. Like that is like a killer feature that only Bitcoin and Lightning can do. No other cryptocurrency is doing anything like that. You can't do that shit with fiat because you need all the permission. It's awesome. And I think we ought to start doing more stuff like that. That's all.
100%. I 100% agree.
Plebster is my new favorite Nostr client, by the way. On Android.
Hell
I think damn it's for iPhone. So
yeah, no, and they also took off the Zaps on the iPhone too. So it's like, look,
that's
like
the workaround.
I was
that thing I just meant.
You know, but that's what I'm saying. Like it's a workaround, right? And it's like if we do want mass adoption, if we do want people to like really like they adopt Bitcoin and they're using it seamless, I think it needs to be as convenient or as close to as convenient as the current fiat system and the current financial rails. Like I talk about this all the time, and Beauty On and I were talking about this at you were there, Opti. We were talking about this at BitBlock Boom on the news desk. Like we have to remember that these Bitcoin wallets and whatever, like we're making them for human beings. Like convenience is a thing. Like the human element is a thing. Like Apple Pay is the easiest fucking thing to use. You literally tap 2 buttons on the side of your phone and you go, teek, it gives you a little haptic feedback. and then you pay, right? Like Bitcoin payments need to be that easy, right? It needs to be that seamless because right now they're a little bit complicated. Like I love Wallet of Satoshi. I know I'm going to get a lot of shit for that because it's like, look, it's a custodial. It's like, I fucking love Wallet of Satoshi. You don't have to create a username. You don't have whatever. You download the app. You could start receiving sats immediately. Now, am I going to keep a large amount of sats on there? No, but maybe it's good to have, a couple $100, whatever, spending money on there. Convenience is so easy. It's so easy to download. Mun was like my other favorite for a long time, and I had a bad experience with Mun over at BitBlock Boom because apparently they use Lightning for smaller payments, but if it starts to go above a certain amount, it's actually an on-chain payment. So it's not immediate. So anyways, all these problems are going to be fixed. I have no doubt in my mind. We just have to keep, churning at them. Bitcoin entrepreneurs are the brightest and smartest people in the world, and you're going to solve these problems. It's just a matter of time. Look, the internet in the 90s was fucking unusable, right? It was terrible, right? Like look at the internet now. We're fucking live streaming right now to multiple platforms. Like it's become convenient. It's become easy to use. Bitcoin needs to get to that point, in my opinion.
Well, that goes back to my previous point. Like what I've been saying is like everyone needs to get more curious. Everyone needs to get a bit more humble. Then they'll get Bitcoin. But Bitcoiners ourselves, like I'm just going to call it out as I see it. There are a lot of us who won't touch these experimental things. We will go out and we'll set up a node. We'll set up an S9. We'll do these things, but we'll think that, connecting and messing with some of these Lightning wallets are really difficult. And I know that part of the problem there is just the educational material isn't out. Go watch BTC sessions. He does like God's work on this stuff. But we have to start being cool with experimenting with this stuff and not waiting for it to be perfect. Our feedback is essential to these developers to make these apps more convenient, right? I just think like if you're a core Bitcoiner, you can sit back passively and like digest the news and all that, or you can be an active participant in the Bitcoin ecosystem. Start going outside your comfort zone, trying these things, be a part of making this ecosystem more convenient and usable. That's all.
100%. I 100% agree with that. All right, everybody, let's get to the culture. Talk about kinetic finance. Do it.
The Daily Culture.
Brought to you by SwanBitcoin.com. Swan is the best way to build your Bitcoin stack with automated Bitcoin savings plans and instant purchases, serving clients of any size from $10 to $10 million. We love Swan because they incentivize self-custody and dollar cost averaging. What are you waiting for? Visit SwanBitcoin.com today. All right, guys, I also want to tell you about the Pacific Bitcoin Festival. It's coming up in Los Angeles, California. It's literally almost in a month. You want to get your tickets quickly before the prices go up. It's October 5th through the 6th. You can use promo code SIMPLY to get 21% off your tickets to the Pacific Bitcoin Festival. Current speakers include Jimmy Song, Lynn Alden, Greg Foss, Alex Gladstein, Corey Clipston, Preston Pish, Stefan Livera, Max Kaiser, Stacy Herbert, and many, many more. You don't want to miss the biggest Bitcoin celebration on the West Coast, the Pacific Bitcoin Festival. Anyways, Opti, take it away, my friend.
All right, yeah. So first and foremost, guys, I know how much you guys love the rabbit hole stories. So let's get kinetic finance. How did you become a Bitcoiner? And then we'll get into making Bitcoin content.
All right. So first things first, I just needed Bitcoin out of convenience back in 2013. I bought a Bitcoin. It was like $200-300 at the time. And Silk Road, something on there. Yeah, knocking on my door at some point. Safe to say, most expensive bag of weed I've ever bought. No regrets, though. Didn't touch Bitcoin for like 2-3 years after that point. And then I was basically graduating from university at the time. I work in film production professionally. I do like commercials and whatnot. And I had like $3,000 left in student loans, and I was trying to think of like investments. And actually, it was Ethereum that caught my eye, and I brought in the whole like, oh, this is the evolution of Bitcoin. And I was like, well, Bitcoin was cool. I'd be interested in the evolution of it. So I go all in on Ethereum back in like 2016. 3 days later is the DAO hack. So I learned a lot about decentralization and not having secure code, and then how the Ethereum Foundation basically shafted the immutability of Ethereum through that. And that opened my eyes up to Bitcoin, which, basically also was going through something a little bit similar with the block size wars at the time. But all this stuff was like way over my head for the longest time. I just cared about, the price and the number go up. But it was interesting, like learning about all the infighting and all that, Roger Ver and Bitcoin Cash and all that. And so I participated in all that stuff. And I just say it really wasn't, for the Bitcoiners and the people here who have been on this journey, it took me about 4 years to really understand the bigger picture of Bitcoin, which was how powerful it could be in changing society and all the dangers of fiat money. I just looked at Bitcoin as like a base level, cool evolution technology of money. I didn't realize how damaging fiat was about 4 years into my Bitcoin journey. But basically ever since then, price went up. I was able to start a company with some of my Bitcoin profits, and was making videos through COVID, for Amazon companies and all these things. And I just started getting disillusioned with like that machine. I love entrepreneurship. I had a company, I had like 6 employees at the time, but I just found like everything that was going on in Bitcoin was so interesting. And I wasn't finding a lot of Bitcoin content creators out there that were doing more than like news coverage or tutorials. And I said, hey, I have like all this film equipment. I've made so many documentaries. I've interviewed all these like CEOs. Like, why don't I try talking about it some more? And I've always been like a behind the camera sort of person. And I just thought, okay, I'll get out of my comfort zone. I'll try to learn how to speak to camera or teleprompter or whatever. And I'll use my filmmaking skills to try and, talk about Bitcoin in a way that I wish I had seen, when I was going through my orange pill journey. And yeah, that brings me to today. I've been working on a variety of things. I've done tutorials in the past, but I'm moving now towards kind of 3 mediums, which is I have my own live streaming show that I just do just so I can hear myself talk and learn Bitcoin through talking about it. I do these 60-second YouTube shorts trying to orange pill people in 60 seconds. It's such a challenge to basically write 160 words on Bitcoin and make it make sense in one whole package. And then I do these kind of like mid to longer length documentaries between 10 to 20 minutes. One of them was one of the companies that we worked with in Vancouver. They're making the first Bitcoin industrial heaters. So they're taking hashing boards and they're outfitting them into industrial electric heaters to replace gas heaters, which is a big industry here in Vancouver as we're trying to move away from all that stuff. The company gets the Bitcoin as a profit. They just sell the heater as a heater unit, and that industry is interesting. So made a whole little video about that. Company's called Mint Green. Went to Guatemala to check out their circular economy, was trying to figure out, is Guatemala that much different from El Salvador? Could they be the next big Bitcoin country? Learned some really interesting things there. Guatemala is a very, very different country historically from El Salvador, even though they're neighbors, but made a whole documentary on that. And then how Bitcoin, feeds into like Mayan culture and values and stuff like that. Traveled with BJ Dichter, who was one of the biggest organizers of the trucker convoy up here in Canada, also a huge Bitcoiner. Traveled on the road with him for 48 hours in his big semi truck to kind of learn his perspective on the convoy protests and how Bitcoin played a role in that. And then the next video, the one I'm working on currently, is this Bitcoin product line for kids called Shamery. It's like storybooks for Bitcoiners, and it's like a card game that teaches them mining. And I was trying to see, like, can you really teach a 6-year-old Bitcoin? And if so, isn't that kind of disappointing that we have like Brad Sherman, who can't even say the name of Satoshi Nakamoto? He said like Saratoshi Nagamoto. And we taught kids the name and the origin of Bitcoin and all that stuff in an hour. And they now know more than a sitting US congressman. So yeah, just trying to find interesting areas of Bitcoin and tell stories that I think, some people just aren't telling. But that's it.
That's awesome.
Love it. And before we go on, I have a bunch of questions here, but I think this is just a great example of what I say all the time, guys. Like, use your skills, whatever skills you have, and figure out how you can push that Bitcoin signal or build a Bitcoin company. It's like every one of us has some skills that you can market in the Bitcoin space, either if it's just accepting Bitcoin or if it's making content, whatever you're good at. Like, you have the skills. It's just about thinking about this correctly. And then next question, bro. We always get this same contention going on Bitcoin Twitter about how there's too many podcasts, there's too many Bitcoin content creators. So is there enough Bitcoin content creators, and why have you dedicated your life to making the Bitcoin content that you do?
There's not nearly enough Bitcoin content creators. Podcasters, I don't think there's such a thing as too many podcasters, but I would say if you look at the pie chart that is the available content for Bitcoin, podcasts take up like I think an ungodly amount, and I think that's going to change dramatically.
More video content,
video content, but like beyond that, man, like you have, and I'm going to shout out creators, and that's like what we have to do as content creators is we have to bring up other names. These are actually bigger than me, but like you know Carla and Walker, Crypto Couple, they're making like amazing songs, musical parodies of Bitcoin. And then you got Tip NZ. She's doing these like great, rap covers about sound money and how Bitcoin plays into that. Hero of Bitcoin, which I just posted. This guy is making a game for the Game Boy Color using like Game Boy scripting. That is basically like an RPG that teaches people about the history of Bitcoin. You have Bitcoin trading cards, and that's like done super, super well on Geyser Fund. This stuff is really what's going to orange pill the next generation. I really think that, the podcasts and all this stuff, conferences, like they have been really effective so far, but we have barely scratched the surface on Bitcoin adoption. People need to be spoken to in different ways. And then we haven't even gotten into basically all this great Bitcoin education. It's all in English. There are way more people outside the English speaking world that need Bitcoin and need it more than us. There's like a massive population in India. They're also going through inflation there. Sri Lanka, South America, you have some great Spanish creators like Adrian Trevino now. He's doing stuff for Blink, BTC, TikToks and stuff like that. We need to get way more Bitcoin content out there and way more education and speak to people in as many mediums as possible. So I don't think there's such a thing as too much Bitcoin content. I just think that we need to explore other mediums in storytelling a lot more than we are today.
1,000,000%. I absolutely love that. I completely
Wait, Nico,
agree.
before you go on, remember I was telling you over the weekend, like when Simply Bitcoin dubbed in different languages.
Yeah, and I was like, dude, we already have so much shit on our plate. So to get back to your point, Kinetic, I completely agree. We call it the Bitcoin echo chamber, right? Which is like what a lot of people don't understand is like you're making Bitcoin content, whether it's a podcast or this show or whatever, but you're making it to other Bitcoiners, right? Like other people that are already orange pill. The heavy lift is how do you break that echo chamber? How do you reach an audience that, I read it to you guys in the very beginning. 61% of Americans are living paycheck to paycheck. Like, obviously they don't have any disposable income to invest in whatever, but imagine if they start saving a little bit, if they could, or like $100 a month, that's it. That will go a very, very long way. 4, 10, 20 years from now. And it's super easy to do in terms of all the platforms. Obviously we love Swan, but like all the platforms that give you the ability to do that. Right. So yeah, man, it's, I completely agree. We have to break the Bitcoin echo chamber 1,000,000%. Opti?
Yeah, 100%. So I actually want to ask Kinetic a question, because we kind of say it on the show all the time about like, we're in this game right now of winning the hearts and minds of the masses. So like, what do you think is the next step to not only going like viral in the Bitcoin space and creating videos, but like, how are we going to be able to tap into like the everyday normie person?
I think something that's worked for me very well recently is kind of tapping into like ancillary things that Bitcoiners believe. I think Bitcoiners, they understand the importance of family a lot more. Vivek Ramaswamy speaks a lot about this stuff. He's like a guy running for the Republican nomination, but he kind of has like 10 tenets, and I think a lot of them align with Bitcoiners. But one of them is that like the nuclear family is, the most effective form of governance that exists. And so we can take issues like that, we can take topics like that, and we can talk about them, and then we can, kind of collate them with Bitcoin in a way. Another one too is that Bitcoiners are super strong believers in having sovereign energy. And you'd be surprised. I thought there was a lot of misinformation out there about nuclear energy, because, a lot of people say, oh, a nuclear plant melted down or whatever. We shouldn't have nuclear energy. Turns out that there's a lot of smart people out there that understand that we've had the wool covered over our eyes when it comes to nuclear energy and energy independence. And you can weave in the importance of Bitcoin mining into that. You can talk to the environmentalists. So I think a big part of our job as Bitcoiners is to kind of connect Bitcoin to these other topics and things that people are interested in. And, there's a lot of people doing that stuff already. But I think we have to do it in, more tactical ways than we have previously. It's one thing to have a Bitcoin podcast and have an environmentalist on, or have an environmental podcast and have a Bitcoiner on, and these things work amazingly well. But I think when we can really start to reach out to these audiences, get Bitcoiners on, a YouTuber's show to talk about Bitcoin for a couple seconds. A couple years ago, and this was like 4 years ago, I partnered with this YouTuber with like 500,000 subscribers. And I said, hey, do you want to do like a challenge where we try and go around Vancouver and like live on Bitcoin for a day? And it didn't work out because there were no Bitcoin merchants in Vancouver at the time. But I said in the video, like, in the next few years, you're going to see like 30, 40, 50. And it turned out that way. And in the video, I also showed like, this is the price of Bitcoin today. And a couple of people like pulled up that video and messaged me and said, hey, I watched your video with this random YouTuber like 4 years ago. And turns out like some of the stuff you said was right. Like, where can I learn more about this? So we as Bitcoiners, we have to get into the popular zeitgeist as much as possible, whether that is through clickbaity stuff, whether it's through collaborating with other content creators that might take an interest in Bitcoin. We have to go outside 100% our echo chamber and start experimenting with different things and different people to get the word out.
Yeah, well, I 100% agree with that sentiment and that statement, right? But that's what it's all about. That's why we show up every day. That's why you make the content that you do, is to really push this peaceful Bitcoin revolution forward. Anyways, everybody, let's get to the memes. We got a lot of memes to review. Let's check it out.
The Daily Meme Review.
Brought to you by Kaboomracks. I get this question all the time. Nico, where should I buy Bitcoin miners? The answer is Kaboomracks. It's the best place to buy Bitcoin miners. That's where you're going to find the best deals and the best prices. Start your mining utopia today. To check out their racks, you got to go to t.me/Kaboomracks. Join their Telegram group and start your mining journey today. Kaboomracks. Kaboomracks.
Kaboom. All right, guys, here we are. We're at the meme review, your favorite portion of the show where you watch the whole show just to get to the memes. Again, tag me on Twitter, Simply Bitcoin TV, or my personal account, Optimus Fields, and I will get your guys' memes.
Is this a meme from Nick?
Yeah.
We can't review memes from Nick. Skip this.
Yeah,
one.
right. This is a solid meme. This is a solid meme right here. Okay, so as you can tell, and we've had this conversation the whole day, memes are very powerful. Getting this signal out to your normies, dropping these in your family and friend group chat so that you blow their minds is the way. Making the content, spreading the signal. This is the most important thing we can be doing, is trying to get the Bitcoin signal out so people start saving in Bitcoin. This is the way, guys. Tweet to the bullets. Memes are artillery. And you don't have to tag me in just your memes, tag me in your friends' memes, whatever. All right, so this first meme is my boy Nick Can't Mine, and he's doing a play. He can mine. He's doing a play on Pokemon and Ash catching some Pokemon here, and he goes collecting all the cheap Bitcoin on these dips, and he did a very bad crop right here, which is the best part about this meme. He just did a square avatar logo on top of Ash catching some cheap Bitcoin, and you can see Sailor in the background with Pikachu. Everyone's catching cheap Bitcoin right now. This is the way. Okay, this next meme is by the BTC therapist, and he goes, "We made it, hashtag BTC." And we got this, I don't know what you call him. It's like some priest here in a robe, and he goes, "When you hodl from 69K to 15K, and we have some new plebs kissing your hand while you hodl in Bitcoin, and you show them the way that you keep buying all the way down. When there's blood on the streets, you buy more Bitcoin. This is the way." All right, this next one is by Kim Gage. Shouts out to you. I know he's in the chat. And he goes, "Where are we exactly in the Bitcoin adoption cycle?" And he goes, "Where we are in the Bitcoin adoption cycle, we have Satoshi as the tip of the iceberg. We have all of us Bitcoiners. We're sticking out of the water. And then under the water, we have Wall Street. And then at the very bottom of the iceberg is everybody else. So, hey, maybe we're not early, but we're still early." Okay, this next one, I know all you guys on Twitter are arguing about drive chains and ordinals and all this other stuff and what's going on. And it's all noise as far as I'm concerned. But World of Rusty tagged me in this, and I thought it was a good one. He goes, "Drive chainers." And we got, the SpongeBob meme here that's like, and he goes, "Keynesians, the economy won't work unless we can print more money. Drive chainers, Bitcoin won't work unless we put shitcoins on Bitcoin. Corporate needs you to find the difference between the picture and this picture. They're the same thing. They're the same thing." Oh my goodness. Everyone's losing their mind on Twitter right now. Anyways, this next meme is by eggplant_Elon. He goes, "Truth." And we got a HSBC billboard over here. and they crossed out a word here, and the HSBC billboard that I'm sure you guys have seen in real life goes, when an abuser controls your finances, they control you. No, but when you cross it out, it makes more sense. When a bank controls your finances, they control you. Bitcoin literally fixes this for everyone, and someone's got a sign here at the bottom that says Bitcoin fixes this for everyone. Okay, this next one is by Lena Sisha, and she goes, A Peaceful Revolution. And this is a little hodler comic. And we got a person with a bunch of fiat dollars in the briefcase, and it goes, these Bitcoiners are trying to undermine our financial system. And the next thing goes, they want a revolution. And then the next thing goes, they're attacking the monetary world order. And then it starts freaking out even more. And like, right now, they're probably planning their next move to overthrow us. And then the bottom one goes, they must be stopped. And it's just all of us stacking Bitcoin, enjoying our lives, taking tips for our services, accepting Bitcoin for our products and our skills. We're not doing anything, man. We just want a money that doesn't steal from us. It's so simple, man. Okay, this last one, shouts out to my boy Wine, a.k.a. the person that's tweeting all the time behind the BTC kindergarten account. And he's got a picture here, and it's a hand with a coffee, and it's overflowing into a cup. And it goes, me pouring Bitcoin in any conversation to anyone who will listen. This is probably what all of us feel when we try to talk about Bitcoin, because people don't want to talk about it. Hey, it is what it is. We'll be here for you when you are ready. Until then, just make sure you build it and they will come. All right, drop your meme review score in the chat over there on the other side of everyone, and we will cover them live. My meme review score, chat, is, you guys have been seeing it all day, but Wine got gifted this trucker hat by my boy Billy MacDo, and he forgot it in Austin, so I stole it. And it says, I am not at Billy MacDo trucker hat. Shouts out to Billy MacDo, puts the team on his back door.
Okay. So I'm going to give it 2 scores. My first score is breaking news. Nick can mine. Okay. He can mine. He's got to change his handle. And second, I'm going to give it this BTC Pins and Madex collab.
Ooh,
of
the tomahawk.
a tomahawk steak. Woo! Is that the pin I should start wearing?
Every day.
I used to wear the orange pill pin a lot on Simply Bitcoin back in the early days. Anyways, Kinetic Finance, what would you give those memes?
I would give it this pig sticker smoking a cigarette. I don't know why I have this on my desk, but I got it like a couple months ago. But yeah, it's good. It's
needs laser eyes. Needs laser eyes.
Glasses too. Needs laser eyes.
Very, very, very nice. Also, guys, before we get to the meme scores, another shameless plug. Guys, check out the new drop of Simply Bitcoin merch. It's on the website. All you got to do is scan the QR code. It will take you directly to the website. You can get yourself a t-shirt or a hoodie. Rep Simply Bitcoin. Also, rep Bitcoin in general. You can get it while supplies last. Anyways, I have to do this or else Wine will get very upset with me. So it's not my fault. Blame Wine. Anyways, guys, please drop your score.
Wait. This isn't a score yet, but this is a good one, Nico. This is where we're starting today. It's Friday after all.
Christine Lagarde. So Opti's ex-girlfriend is in the chat. Hey, Opti, I'm feeling your signal. Wait, I have to say it in the accent. Opti, it's me, Christy. I'm feeling your signal.
Yeah. All right. Story time before I get to the other. Nico will literally call me and be like, hey, Opti, it's Christy. No, not even a joke. I'll open up Restream and he'd be like, hey, Opti. This guy's crazy.
Dude. Hey, bro, look. It's good to be able to say that a Bitcoiner has dated a central banker. All right.
All of them.
Now what? Now what isn't clear is, do people know about?
How do you think Christine Lagarde's son became a Bitcoiner? Nor denying.
People don't. So people know about Yellen. People know about Christine Lagarde, but they don't know about Augustin. Opti likes to keep it close. He doesn't like to tell people.
Dude, I'd do anything for the sats, bro. This is called Bitcoin adoption.
Oh, man. All right. Rastlin meme score. Opti's sick Hawaiian shirt. Ooh, Opti coming in. Opti with the merch.
It's Casual Friday.
Elaine Lowell score. Bitcoiners realize that nobody wants to be told to stay poor. A new message takes over. Quote, buy Bitcoin and have fun getting rich. Very nice.
Yes, I like that one. I like that one.
I like that. I like that. All right, next one by Phil C. I give the memes 10,000 sats for not another mention of drive chain. Dude, we haven't talked about drive chain. I'll be honest with you guys. Like, I still don't know what the fuck ordinals are, and I don't know what the fuck drive chains are, nor do I give a fuck. I think just Bitcoin does one thing, and it does it really well, which is it's money. And I think that once you start making changes, there's unattended consequences to those changes. So that's my takes on that. But I am lying. I do know what ordinals are by now. Anyways, Bitcoin for Canadians, but I didn't know for a long time. Bitcoin for Canadians. I guess I'll find out what drive chains are eventually. Bitcoin for Canadians. I give
TLDR trash.
whatever, bro. Bitcoin's just it's good. It's great money. That's just like, I don't know why people try to overcomplicate and try to change it. You know, I think that like you're asking for trouble. Anyways, Bitcoin for Canadians. I give the memes my custom buy order getting filled today for more sats. Woot woot. Very nice, bro. McLovin meme score. Sats still on sale. I'm stacking harder. ... Love it, love it, love it. Yeah,
This might be my favorite score today.
Kim Gage, Billy Mack just called. He wants his fucking hat back.
Okay.
All right. Satwise Janks. I give the memes 1 million sats, but lost my jade in a boating accident. Very nice. Des Flat. I give today's memes one. What memes and Natalie no, I'm not reading that. Ranmore, DCA, be respectful. She's extremely talented. Anyways, Ranmore, DCA today with new seed signer meets up. Bammerski, meme score, Internet Sophie's cover song. Yep. Shout out Sophie, killed it. Huddle coin. I give the memes cheap sats. Very nice. Very nice. All right, I think that's it. Are we buzzing it? Okay, we buzzed it because we ran out of no, we didn't run out of scores. It was a time constraint, obviously. Anyways, guys, if you enjoyed the show, you know what to do. Smash that like button. If you feel like we provided you value, consider subscribing to Simply Bitcoin. But the number one thing you could do to push this peaceful Bitcoin revolution forward is share Bitcoin content. Don't be exclusive, be inclusive. Don't share shitcoin content. That's counterproductive. I want to give a very special shout out to our guest, a fellow Bitcoin content creator, Kinetic Finance, Kinetic_finance. You can follow him on Twitter. Also check out his YouTube channel. Thanks so much for joining us today, brother.
Thanks so much for having me. Looking forward to coming to the follow-up room.
Appreciate, man. All right, guys, if you want to hang out during the after party, make sure to join us on Twitter Spaces, which we're co-hosting with our friends over at Swan Bitcoin. Best place to build your Bitcoin stack. All you got to do, open your Twitter app or X app, I guess now that's what it's called, and you could just go to the Simply Space or the Swan handle or the Simply handle. Just join the spaces. Feel free to request Opti to let you up on stage, and we'll kind of just have a conversation. Kinetic Finance, I think, will be joining us today. Anyways, guys, have an amazing long weekend. It is Labor Day weekend. Enjoy yourselves. You guys deserve the break, and we'll be back. I don't know. Wait, let me bring Opti here. Opti, are we doing Labor Day?
Wait, do we get a break?
Do
we get a long weekend?
I don't know. I'm gonna ask you. I'm rested. I'm gonna leave it up to you.
I don't know. I don't think our YouTube channel can handle a break.
Yeah, we'll be back Monday, guys, for another episode of Simply Bitcoin Live. Peace out, y'all.
Let's go! All right. Oh, man. All right. What's up, everyone? As you already know, this is a Bitcoin space by Bitcoin.